Hey, today I will be talking about Jupiter and Saturn in mythology. I will do that because I have already talked about Saturn in my previous videos, and also because I kind of think it's appropriate for father and son to finish this series for now. Saturn was the Roman version of the Greek god Kronos. Kronos, or Saturn, was the father of Zeus or Jupiter. So to summarize, Jupiter is the Roman equivalent of Zeus and son of Saturn. Because I have talked about Saturn and touched upon his mythology previously, I will talk more about Zeus or Jupiter today and involve Saturn when appropriate. And also Jupiter is almost identical to his Greek counterpart Zeus. Jupiter, or Jupiter in Latin, is often depicted as a powerful paternal god who wielded thunderbolt in his right hand and a scepter, a symbol of his sovereignty and power, in his left, and usually is physically shown as a mature, bearded, and well-built man. As the god of the sky, Jupiter commanded lightning, thunder, storms, and all weather. As he controlled the rain, he was also worshipped in connection with agriculture as the god who caused crops to grow, similar to Saturn, who was a god of agriculture and harvest, the god of sowing or seed. Of course, Jupiter was more than a weather god. He was seen as the god of order in the broadest sense, embodying and upholding the world order. He also presided over events like the Nundinae, or the ninth day fair, the market days of the ancient Roman calendar. As a god of war, Jupiter, or Zeus, was not taking an active part in wars like Mars, but was thought to oversee and control them. Jupiter, or Zeus, was known under many names, and some of them are Caelestis, god of heavens; Pluvius, the storm god; Lucetius, god of the light; Fulgur or Tonans, epithets that referred to Jupiter in his capacity as the god of thunder and lightning; Elysius, he who is called forth; Almus for nourishing; Invictus as unconquered; Stator as establisher, and many others. In literature and art, most often he is associated with the eagle, and mostly with white animals. He was riding a four-horse chariot or quadriga, which was drawn by white horses. He also received white bulls as sacrifices. Now, Jupiter Zeus was also seen holding a patera, which is a shallow dish used to pour out liquid as a sacrifice. Other symbol associated with him is the silex, a flint-like stone which was sometimes used to symbolically strike victims sacrificed to Jupiter in ritual context. His sacred tree was the oak. His day is Thursday, also known as Jovis Dies or Jupiter's Day. Temple of Jupiter Optimus Maximus, or Jupiter the Best and Greatest, was the most important temple in ancient Rome, and it also included spaces for the worship of Juno or Hera and Minerva or Athena. These three deities together were known as Capitoline Triad, and the temple was built atop Capitoline Hill in the heart of the ancient Rome. Jupiter's mythology is mostly adapted from that of Zeus, but there are a couple of legends involving Jupiter's interactions with early figures of Roman history. In one of these, Numa Pompilius, the second king of Rome, demanded from the woodland gods Picus, the son of Saturn or Kronos, also known as Tercutus, and his son Faunus, a rustic and horned god of the forest, plains, and fields. Faunus is equated with the Greek god Pan, to help him summon Jupiter. During this gathering, Numa agreed to teach his people how to properly worship Jupiter, and in return, Jupiter taught Numa a spell to avoid lightning bolts. Jupiter sealed his pact with Numa and the Romans by sending a perfectly round shield from the heavens called the Ancile. Numa wanted to protect the shield and secure it from stealing, so he made 11 nearly identical copies of the shield, and these 12 shields became a sacred symbol of the city and a reminder of the pact between Jupiter and Rome. Jupiter was the son of Titan Ops or Rhea, the Earth Mother, and Saturn or Kronos. Saturn overthrew his father Uranus or Caelus in order to assume the position of supremacy. Thus, he was the prevailing sky god. But he soon became a tyrant, mostly because of the prophecy claiming that one of his own sons would overthrow him. In order to prevent this from happening, he devoured his children as soon as they were born. Ops or Rhea, realizing that every child would suffer the same destiny, decided to hide her sixth child, Jupiter, as soon as he was born, and offered a wrapped large piece of stone to Saturn, who swallowed the stone. Jupiter was brought up in secret by Amalthea, who was either a goat or a nymph or a combination of both. She kept him safe by hanging his cradle from the branch of the tree where he was between the heaven and earth, making him unfindable. And to further protect the young god, she called upon Curetes, the spirits, to surround the cradle. When the baby cried, they banged their swords and shields so loudly nobody could hear the baby cries. The Jupiter eventually returned from hiding, and with the help of his mother Hera and Metis, his first wife, they created a special concoction or a potion, which Saturn drank and spewed up all the children he had swallowed. Jupiter with his siblings went to war against Kronos and the Titans, who were led by Atlas, while Zeus commanded the Olympians. The war lasted for 10 years. Zeus assumed leadership as ruler of the universe and forced Saturn to flee. Now, many Roman sources tell he escaped to Italy, where he was taken in by the two-faced god Janus, a god of doors, gates, transitions, passages, but most of all beginnings. Saturn ruled for a time as the king of Italy, presiding over what was known as the peaceful Golden Age. And in other stories, Kronos was banished to Tartarus, a great pit beneath the earth, or a dungeon of the damned. I forgot to mention that Amalthea was very important to Zeus, so he, after her death, made an aegis or a shield out of her impenetrable hide and turned one of her horns into an overflowing cornucopia, a horn of plenty, and placed her among the stars as the constellation Capricornus. Still, after the war, a few enemies remained, and one of them was Typhon, the largest monster ever born. He had 100 snake heads sprouting from his shoulders, blazing flames were coming out of his eyes, and a different voice was coming out of each of his mouth. He could roar like a lion, hiss like a snake, bellow like a bull, sound like a puppy, or speak the language of the gods. When he charged the Mount Olympus, all the gods except Athena changed into animals, including Zeus, who changed into ram and escaped to Egypt. Athena shamed Zeus for that, so he returned with 2 weapons, his thunderbolt and the sickle from his father Kronos, the same sickle Kronos used to castrate Uranus. These weapons were not strong enough to defeat Typhon, as he wrested the sickle out of Zeus's hands and used it to slash the sinews of his limbs, after which he ripped them out of his body and hid them in a cave, so Zeus could not move. Hermes and his son Pan came to help. Pan shouted and shocked the monster, thus giving Hermes a chance to grab the sinews and sew them back to Zeus's body. Zeus scorched the monster's heads with lightning and buried him alive under Mount Etna, where he continues to puff and huff. Now this, of course, is the famous active stratovolcano Etna on the east coast of Sicily in Italy. As every great god, Zeus or Jupiter embodies contradictions, as he was as majestic as the sky and as volatile as the weather. When Zeus entered the room, all the gods stood still, so as the story usually goes, they eventually rebelled. The conspirators were led by Hera, Poseidon, and Athena, and they surprised Zeus while he was taking a nap and chained him. Now only the sea goddess Thetis came to help him. She summoned Briareus, as the gods called him, mortals called him Aegon, one of the 3 100-armed and 50-headed Hecatoncheires, who terrified the other gods so much that they stopped what they were doing, and Zeus managed to break free. As a punishment, Zeus sentenced Poseidon and Apollo to work for a mortal, King Laomedon of Troy, and he strung Hera up in the mid-air with an anvil dangling from each ankle and put an unbreakable chain around her wrists. So he did survive the threat to his authority, and still his authority was never total, as Fates or the Moirae were more powerful. Zeus was blessed with a fertile imagination and with an ability to change shape at will, and he was always in love. As mentioned before, his first lover and wife was Metis, who helped Zeus defeat Kronos and was celebrated for her wisdom. But their relationship was doomed, as an oracle predicted that they would have 2 children, a girl whose intelligence and spirit would equal her father's, and a boy who would eventually overthrow him. So Zeus did what Saturn or Kronos did to his children, but went one step further and swallowed the mother while she was pregnant. When the time came for a girl to be born, she could not emerge in the usual way, so she sprang full-grown from Zeus's forehead, and this may be the reason why Athena was always her father's favorite. Metis, the mother, remained in Zeus's abdomen, where she could offer him counsel, but could not become pregnant again, and this worked, as Metis never had a son and Zeus was never overthrown. Zeus, or Jupiter, was involved with a series of goddesses like Themis, one of the Titans. She became the mother of two groups of sisters, the Horae, or seasons, and the Morae, or fates. Another one was Eurynome, a sea nymph. She gave birth to the three Graces. Demeter was one of his sisters. She gave birth to Persephone. Mnemosyne, also a Titan, gave birth to the nine Muses, as she spent 9 nights with Zeus. And Leto, a Titan, gave birth to Apollo and Artemis. While Leto was pregnant, Zeus fell in love with Hera. Their passion was so intense, their wedding night lasted for 300 years. Hera was motivated by jealousy. She turned mean-spirited and vindictive, not towards Zeus, but toward her romantic rivals and all the children born from those affairs and unions. Due to her spiteful interference, one of Aphrodite's children was born deformed, and Lamia lost all but one of her offsprings, possibly because Hera made Lamia to eat them, thus becoming a vampire with a strong desire to eat Greek children. Zeus with Hera had Ares, the god of war, at least according to some myths, Hebe, the goddess of youth and youthfulness, who served the gods and goddesses of Mount Olympus drinks and ambrosia, considered to be the most beautiful of the goddesses. Hephaestus, the god of forge, tossed out of Olympus after he was born, and Aletheia, the goddess of childbirth, who could ease the pain of the childbirth or prolong them, depending on how she felt about the mother. Zeus and Hera once had a quarrel about who enjoyed physical intimacy more, women or men, so they decided to ask Tiresias, the famous transsexual, whose adventures began in the forest when he came upon two snakes copulating. He hit them with his staff and turned into a woman, and for 7 years he was a highly successful prostitute. Then again he saw the two serpents mating, again struck them with his staff, and turned into a man again. So Zeus was certain that women enjoyed the act more, while Hera argued the other way, although she did think that Zeus might be right. Tiresias revealed that women did in fact enjoy more, 9 times more to be exact, and that made Hera furious. In her anger at losing the argument, she made Tiresias blind. In exchange for the loss of his eyesight, Zeus granted him the ability to foresee the future and a life 7 generations long, thus making him a celebrated prophet. His powers were so extraordinary he retained them in the underworld, stuck in the 8th circle of hell with the astrologers. Zeus also fell in love with Danae, a daughter of Acrisius, the king of Argos, who consulted an oracle and was told he would be killed by his grandson. So he locked Danae in a tower, or in other stories in an underground dungeon made of bronze. This was a strong defense, but not against Zeus, who fell into her lap in a form of a rain or a shower of gold. Soon she gave birth to the hero Perseus, who accidentally killed his grandfather, so Acrisius could not escape his fate. To entice the Phoenician princess Europa, the sister of Cadmus, Zeus turned into a snow-white bull. He was appealing and gentle, so she played with him until she went on his back. And he was waiting for that and charged into the waves and carried her across the sea to Crete, where she gave birth to 3 sons, Minos and Radamanthys, who became judges in the underworld, and Sarpedon, his favorite son. Of course, Zeus soon became uninterested in Europa, who married Asterius, the king of Crete, and lent her name to the continent. With Alcmene, the daughter of Perseus and Andromeda, he had Heracles. In Babylon, Jupiter was known as Marduk, or Bel, who was the king of gods. His story is told in Enuma Elish, meaning when on high, also known as the 7 tablets of creation, the Babylonian creation myth. In this myth, a primordial sea serpent called Tiamat wakes up her underworld armies to rebel against the heavenly king. Marduk, son of the heavenly king, was the only one who accepted the challenge of entering into combat with Tiamat. Marduk rode his heavenly chariot, defeated the dark army, and destroyed Tiamat. In death, Tiamat becomes the universe. Marduk created earth and sky from the remains of her gigantic corpse. After that, he turned his attention to created human beings, and he created them by using the blood of defeated lover of Tiamat, Kingu. By design, human beings were the slaves of the gods, so gods could relax. Finally, he sets the stars in their lines and courses and establishes the calendar. Jupiter was seen as a divine warrior who becomes the king, as the apostle or the champion who slays the dragon, as a philosopher on the mountaintop, as a progenitor of a new race of people who would hopefully embody the best of the genetic components of his mate and of him. Jupiter is abundance personified, and Jupiter's actions bear fruit, good or bad. Jupiter may not lead us to follow our bliss, but we might feel blessed when Jupiter is well integrated. And with this, we have come to an end of this video. As always, thank you for being with me. I do hope you found this video somewhat interesting. You can leave a comment below if you like. So again, thanks for watching, and I will be seeing you in a couple of days. Bye.